It was extremely important to us that we also have a largely female crew. We had a female AD, we had all female department heads, not for any reason except that Christine had to take a really vulnerable journey, and we wanted everyone who was surrounding her on set to be able to reflect that back on her, and just for her to feel incredibly safe.
Also, how amazing to have an all-female crew. Was it the first time for anybody here in that working environment? Welcome to the Variety Virtual Sundance Studio presented by Audible. I'm Matt Donnelly with the filmmaker and cast of Sharpstick. Lena, it's been 11 years since your last feature. How did this sort of story come to you?
I mean, I think the pandemic really sent me back into a place of educating myself about film, and I started to watch an array of movies, particularly like films from the 70s with sort of naughty, complex, naughty, Knotty, not naughty, but naughty too, female protagonists, and processing some of my own experiences and my own internalized attitudes around female sexuality. I started to sort of conceive of this character, Sarah Jo. I've wanted to make another feature forever since I made the first one. But I was really consumed with girls, and then was sort of processing what that experience had been and writing new material. And but I'm actually really glad it took the time it took, because I feel like every single moment that I directed on girls or industry, everything I wrote contributed to my being able to be fully present. And also the pandemic contributed to my being able to fully appreciate what a gift it is to do this job with people that you love.
But I love something you said in your director's statement so much about how, any sort of movie about sexual awakening for women is treated so differently. How did you sort of like try to go out balancing that iniquity? And why was it important to do for you?
I like the idea of creating a character whose sexual journey wasn't a trauma in and of itself, and that there was a playfulness to her exploring, and that the exploring that she did was in like an adult consensual realm, but also did really challenge her. And that, she ran into some tough moments, as we all do, but she wasn't punished for her desire, or punished by the people around her. And she was able to really keep it like this special jewel for herself. But how did you think about it, Christine, in terms of other characters you've played, and what it is in contrast to so many like male coming of age stories we see?
Yeah, I mean, I've never played anyone like Sarah Jo, but I do think it's like what you said. I think she's denied so much of herself, and she, when we meet her, she's played this. It's almost like I feel like she was on autopilot for so long, where she was just like the caretaker. She was just like had this specific role in her life. She experiences all these new feelings. She has that sexual awakening, but it's like this whole new life for her that she didn't even know about. And so going through the heartbreak and heart loss, she just keeps shedding off all these layers that I feel like she didn't even realize that she had. And at the end, I think it could have been anyone, but it just happens to be Arvin. But she's like for the first time pleasuring herself and like creating that for herself, and not doing it for anyone else or for any other reason, but it's like for her, and she's making herself come, and it's like really powerful.
And also really important to see a story that's like Lena said, not defined by trauma, that it can be an adventure that still maybe brings some hard life lessons, but it's not born of like SVU.
I was like, no more prone female bodies with bruises on them written by men, just for right now. Just, it can happen, but just today, let's put a pause.
For Christina and John, obviously the relationship between your characters sets off this sort of awakening. So I'm just curious, like, how did you guys work together as a director, as actors, in relation to each other in staging the intimacy? And because it's obviously very important to a story like this, but it's this new world that we have to be very sensitive, and it's long overdue that we take that kind of care.
One of the most important roles that we filled really early on was our intimacy coordinator.
I mean, we had so many conversations beforehand with our intimacy coordinator, what we were comfortable with, what we weren't comfortable with. And then John and I talked, but everything was planned out in advance. So there was no surprises, and therefore it just felt super safe.
The only thing that is like scarier to me than being like afraid is causing that in someone else, and comfort. It's so clearly essential to Lena to make people feel safe and comfortable. And it's not, I think it goes so much further than, the intimacy. It's just every single human being who was a part of this that walked onto that set, and that cast and crew was valued, heard, appreciated, respected.
Taylor and Jennifer, tell me if you could, just a little bit each about your characters and how you fit into this incredible world.
And obviously we're not like these characters at all, but it was so easy and effortless to believe everyone and to believe that we actually were a family, this crazy, unconventional family that just sort of, I mean, Marilyn loves her children so much. And both these actresses, I was so smitten with, and I was just so enamored. I can't tell you, they're both just live wires and they bring so much, and they're such a joy to just play with and be in a scene with. I haven't had that experience, like, especially because of the pandemic. We were just talking about this earlier. We were all so starved for that kind of interaction, you know? And just the newness, but the newness suddenly just felt like family. And Lena has this ability to just make everyone feel incredibly safe and loved. And like that everything you're doing is right, even in the searching and the mistakes and the fails, it's all right and a part of it. So you feel incredibly free.
And I just feel like this was a role where it could have been anyone, and we tailored it and we, you know, gave her nuance and dimensionality. And I don't know, I love complicated stories, and women, being a human is complicated. Being on this planet is complicated. We're all kind of here with no context. And like, I feel like the only thing that makes sense is love, but love kind of is like, it comes in different packages. It comes in different families. It comes in different lessons. It comes in different, you know, and like exploring that and the complicatedness of humanity and family dynamics, and like just getting into it. Like, this is their lives. This is how they exist, whether you agree with it or you relate to it or you have nothing in common with these people. Like, there is a family like this that exists somewhere, and I just love being a part of exploring it.
Awesome. And Lena, you directed yourself many, many times. Was there anything different about this? And I know obviously you and John have such a great connection, but that's a really interesting relationship too. What was the experience of sort of playing this role and directing yourself this time around?
It was really amazing because I trust Ashley so deeply. And so she would we'd give a sense of where the camera was going to be, and then she would freestyle it. And I could really John makes it so all encompassing to be in a scene with him that I actually was in a way forced to forget that I was directing in a really great way. Like, we would finish and be like, I don't know if I have notes for you because I was just responding to you person to person. I'm going to have to go back and watch that because all I know is you made me cry, but I don't know why. And so that was, I mean, John is like a really incredible scene partner, as they say in the acting business.